Revealed, 15 heartwarming cars that can change your life. You won't believe what they hide. Emma Parker felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she swept the dust from the dimly lit garage her father had left behind. The smell of grease and memories hung in the air. Bills stacked high on the kitchen counter, a job at the diner that barely paid the rent, and her 7-year-old son, Lucas, looking up at her with big, hopeful eyes, were the anchors around her heart. Yet, today was different. A sliver of hope crackled through the air as she brushed away the layers of neglect that covered an old, rusted station wagon, buried beneath a tattered tarpaulin in the corner. It was like unveiling a treasure. The moment Emma dusted off the car, memories of lazy summer afternoons with her dad flooded back. She could hear his laughter, feel his reassuring embrace, and recall the evenings spent under the stars, dreaming about a future filled with promise. The station wagon once meant adventure, a road trip, wind in her hair, and dreams without limits. With each stroke of her cloth, the car emerged as a symbol of resilience. There, behind the cracked leather seats, she found hidden compartments that contained her father's heartfelt letters and cherished mementos, all stories she had long forgotten. Honesty, hard work, community. Each letter told of struggles, but also dreams. Emma felt warmth in her chest. Her father had believed in the goodness of people, and suddenly, she did too. Inspired by his words, she decided to restore the car. Each repair seemed to ignite a spark within her. She transformed it into a lifeline, a vehicle not only for her, but for her neighbors in need. Helping the veteran down the street get to job interviews, and the elderly lady with bags of groceries, became her new mission. This rusty station wagon was no longer just metal and wheels. It glowed with kindness and compassion, igniting connections that revitalized her small community. But life had its curveballs. Just as Emma began feeling brave in her skin, her ex-husband Mark returned to town, dragging remnants of their past like old dust bunnies. "You think this clunker can change your life?" he scoffed, a specter of haunting doubts. Painful memories flashed through Emma's mind, each word dripping with judgment. For a moment, she wrestled with insecurity, those old wounds reopening. The station wagon, once a beacon of hope, suddenly felt like the weight of expectation she could not bear. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the community showcase just around the corner, Emma poured her heart into her father's famed barbecue sauces, hoping to turn a profit that would help her keep the lights on in their little home. But self-doubt invaded her thoughts like weeds. She wrestled with Mark's harsh judgments and her own insecurities. On her way to the event, the station wagon betrayed her, sputtering to a halt on the roadside. Rain began to fall, slicking the streets around her. Emma stood there, torn between despair and determination. Who would stop to help this time? Would she reclaim her hope, or let past shadows block her path? The gathering storm loomed, and as she lowered her head to hide her tears, she noticed headlights piercing through the gray. What would come next? Emma stood on the edge of transformation, her heart racing with anticipation. The headlights swelled, illuminating the darkened roadside like a beacon in a storm. Emma wiped her eyes quickly, smearing tears into her cheeks, and straightened her jacket. The gentle rumble of an approaching vehicle soon grew louder. A blue pickup truck slowed down next to her. As the window rolled down, a friendly face peered out, framed by a mop of curly hair. "Need a hand?" the driver called, his voice warm and genuine, cutting through the tension. For a moment, Emma hesitated, the weight of her pride pulling her back. But as she looked at the man behind the wheel, she sensed sincerity. Her heart clenched at the thought of remaining stuck, both literally and metaphorically. "Yes, please," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "My car, it just died on me." With a nod, he hopped out, trotting toward the station wagon, rain splattering against his jeans. Emma could see his brow furrow as he peered under the hood, curious. "What is your name?" he asked as he fiddled around with wires and hoses, his hands surprisingly deft. Emma, she replied. And you? Jake. Nice to meet you, Emma. All right, let us see what we've got here, he said, his enthusiasm almost infectious. As he worked, a tremor of hope fluttered within her. There he was, a stranger offering help without wanting anything in return. She was struck by how rare that felt lately. Looks like your battery might be shot, Jake said, moving to inspect the old battery with a sigh. Just needs a jump. I can help with that. Emma's heart swelled a little. Really? She asked, astonished. Absolutely. No one should stare down despair alone, he grinned. Now let us get you back on the road so you can dazzle him at that showcase, huh? As the rain persisted, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between them. They laughed over nostalgic stories of vehicles past Jake's first car, a bright red clunker his dad had given him, and Emma's endless summer adventures with her family. Each shared memory eased the burden she had been carrying, offering warmth against the chill of uncertainty and doubt. After a quick jump, the engine sputtered to life. Emma's breath caught in her throat, and she looked at Jake, her eyes gleaming. Thank you, Jake. You have no idea what this means to me, she said, gratitude flooding her voice. Just paying it forward, he said with a shrug, but his smile was infectious. With a wave, they exchanged numbers before she drove off, her heart buoyed and feeling lighter. If a stranger could show such kindness, maybe just maybe there was still hope for her and her dreams. But as she approached the community showcase venue, her nerves prickled again. What if Mark was there? What if this day turned into a disaster? Emma parked the station wagon and took a deep breath, staring at the colorful banners fluttering in the breeze. She was standing on the brink of something new, but the shadows of doubt loomed just behind her. With renewed resolve, she stepped out of the car, her heart thudding with anxious anticipation. Inside, she scanned the bustling crowd. The warmth of laughter and chatter swirled around her, but ingredients of self-doubt simmered beneath the friendly chaos. Where was her place in all of this? Could she really step out and own her story? And what would happen when Lucas saw her face? Emma clenched her fists, her father's unwavering words echoing in her heart. This was her moment. She was ready to fight for her dream, but was she prepared for the challenges ahead? As she took her first step inside, everything felt like a test. She exhaled slowly, the weight feeling just a bit lighter, as she whispered a silent prayer. Please let this be the moment. But little did she know, the day would bring surprises far beyond her imagination, revealing truths she never saw coming. What awaited her inside that vibrant hall could change everything. Emma stepped into the venue, the warmth enveloping her like a comforting blanket, yet the flutter of anxiety in her stomach reminded her this wasn't just a place of celebration. It was a proving ground. The room buzzed with energy. People mingled, laughter ringing out like music. She felt like an intruder, staring at the joyful faces with envy. There were familiar figures in the crowd. There was Lucas, leaning against the wall, chatting with a group of friends. His laughter was so distinct, so infectious. Emma's heart raced. She hadn't seen him since their breakup, and suddenly, all the memories came crashing back like a tidal wave. The joy they once shared felt tainted now. How could things have turned so sour? Drawing a breath, she focused on her surroundings. Colorful displays adorned the tables. Artwork, crafts, and local music flowed through the air, a celebration of the community. This should have been uplifting, yet she felt like a spectator. As she moved further inside, her eyes caught a glimpse of a familiar face. It was Mark. His back was to her, but she recognized the way he stood, confident and self-assured. Her heart sank a little as she recalled their last conversation. Words hurled like javelins, leaving wounds that still stung. Suddenly, Emma felt like shrinking into the walls. Would he even notice her presence? Would he remember the dreams they once spun together? Hey, is that Emma? Came a cheery voice, pulling her from her thoughts. Turning, she found Sarah, a friend from high school. Emma, you made it. The warmth radiating from Sarah's smile was infectious, her enthusiasm a welcome breath of fresh air. Yeah, I'm here, Emma replied, forcing a smile. Awesome. You have to see what everyone has been working on. It's so inspiring. Sarah's eyes sparkled as she gestured toward the crowd. Where's your entry? Emma hesitated, the knot in her stomach tightening. The showcase was her chance to reclaim her passion, to stand proud in front of everyone who had doubted her. But standing among them all felt like standing on a tightrope. One wrong move, and she might stumble. I'm still figuring that out, she said, her voice faltering. Sarah's expression changed slightly, concern creasing her forehead. You'll do great. Just remember why you started. Emma tried to hold on to those words. She had to let go of the fear of judgment, of failure. This day was about celebrating creativity. As she looked around, she caught a glimpse of her own courage reflected back in the eyes of the people around her. They were all here, following their dreams, just as she was. All right, she whispered to herself, summoning her resolve once more. Let us do this. Emma turned toward the stage area, where the MC prepared to introduce the acts. With each step, she felt the energy shift, a spark ignited within her. Just as she approached the front, someone called out her name. It was Lucas. Her heart jolted as he waded through the crowd, looking right at her. Emma, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. She froze, the weight of the moment crashing down like a tidal wave. He had seen her. Now what would he say? Would he even care? She could hardly breathe, all her hopes and fears intersecting in a single glance. As he closed the distance, the entire room seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them suspended in that moment. But even as her heart raced with anticipation, something deeper lurked beneath the surface. How would they navigate this encounter? Would this be a moment of healing, or would it open old wounds? Emma braced herself, waiting for the words that could either lift her up or plunge her deeper into uncertainty. What awaited her in this reunion might just change everything. Lucas stepped closer, a mix of curiosity and apprehension in his eyes. Emma noticed the slight furrow of his brow, as if he was searching for the right words. The vibrant energy of the room, filled with laughter and music, felt miles away. In this moment, it was just the two of them, wrapped in an atmosphere thick with unspoken emotions. Hey, he said softly, almost like a question. The simplicity of his greeting struck her as both familiar and foreign. Hey, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. What was next? Would they dive into the past, or cautiously tread around it? I didn't expect to see you here, Lucas admitted, his gaze lingering on her with a mixture of nostalgia, and something else. Was it regret? It's been a while, Emma managed. Her heart fluttered, her stomach twisted in knots. Memories flooded in, recalling moments of shared laughter, long conversations, and, ultimately, the heartache. He nodded, his expression shifting as he looked over her shoulder at the hustle and bustle behind her. Yeah, I heard about the showcase. I'm glad you decided to come. Her breath caught. Was he genuinely pleased? Somewhere in the back of her mind, doubt whispered that this was merely the polite nicety of an ex. Thanks, I could use some support. The confession felt raw, almost too vulnerable in the face of their history. Emma didn't expect the warmth of his smile. It reached his eyes, and for a moment, she glimpsed the boy who had once made everything feel effortless. Support's what it's all about, he said, a hint of encouragement woven in his tone. You always had this incredible way of bringing life into everything you created. I've missed that. Her heart swelled, then sank. How could he miss her creativity when he had been one to walk away? The conflict tied her thoughts in knots. Lucas, she hesitated, unsure if she wanted answers or closure. Listen, he interrupted, crossing his arms as if gathering courage. I know we've had our share of problems. The way things ended, he trailed off, shaking his head. I just wanted to say that I've thought about it a lot, and I am sorry. I am. Emma stared at him, her emotions warring. Did she dare believe him? A flood of memories crashed over her, but the deeper ache was the longing for things to be different. I wasn't there for you when you needed me, he continued, his sincerity biting through the tension. You deserve support, Emma. The sincerity in his voice tugged at her heart. She had built walls since their split, intending to shield herself from pain, yet here he was, laying bare his regrets. I wish things could be gone differently, she murmured, her eyes searching his for reassurance. An icy grip around her heart loosened just slightly. Me too, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. But I want to celebrate you for everything you are now. Suddenly, the buzz of the crowd faded, replaced by the powerful swell of emotion between them. It was one thing for him to acknowledge her, and another entirely for him to want to be part of her life again. But was she strong enough to accept that? To make things more complicated, a sudden burst of laughter behind her made her turn. The moment felt fragile, ready to dissolve at any second under the weight of decisions she had to confront. "Your showcase is about to begin," Sarah called out, excitement radiating from her. The moment shattered, and Emma's mind raced. What if she stepped onto that stage carrying the weight of regret and unresolved feelings toward Lucas? She glanced back at Lucas, uncertainty creeping back in. "Are you coming?" she asked before she could second-guess herself. "Of course," he said quickly, the determination clear in his tone. As Emma turned toward the stage, her heart felt torn. This was her moment, but it was intertwined with a past she couldn't seem to shake off. The spotlight awaited her, and she wondered, would she step into it fully or retreat into shadows of doubt? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, and just like that, the past loomed larger than ever, battling with the promise of what could be. Emma took a deep breath, readying herself. A moment of truth was ahead, and whatever lay beyond would test not only her resolve, but also the chance of rekindling something beautiful or finding closure. With a last glance at Lucas, she knew one thing for sure. When she stepped onto that stage, everything could change. Would she embrace the uncertainty, open the door to the future, or slip back into the safety of her broken past? As Emma approached the stage, the weight of the spotlight seemed to pull her down, and for a moment, she hesitated. The thrum of the music vibrated through the floor and echoed in her chest, steadying her heartbeat. But her eyes flicked back to Lucas, searching for something comfort, confirmation, encouragement. His expression, a mixture of pride and something more complicated, compelled her frozen limbs to move. Taking a deep breath, Emma stepped into the light. The applause washed over her, loud and electric, but her mind was caught in a whirlwind. How could she concentrate on her performance when every few seconds, her gaze flicked toward the audience, landing on Lucas? He stood there, an anchor amidst the chaos, and yet, the memories of their companionship and the pain of their separation clouded her thoughts. She positioned herself at the center of the stage, the microphone cool against her palm. As she opened her mouth to sing, the words flowed like an unseen river, carrying the emotions she'd bottled up for far too long. Each note resonated with a truth that spilled from her heart. Passion poured through her, igniting forgotten dreams, and the crowd hung onto her every word. But even in that moment of catharsis, doubt lingered at the edges of her mind, nagging at her. What was she trying to prove? Was this really her showcase, or was it a desperate act to reclaim something lost? Each song slid by, the atmosphere around her charged with raw energy, but part of her remained tethered to the past. As the final notes lingered in the air, Emma felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers echoing her name. Yet a quiet shadow sat heavy in her heart. She scanned the audience, seeking Lucas's face. When her eyes locked onto his, she saw admiration and an aching longing. He smiled at her, the kind of smile that spoke of shared history, of intimacy and loss. "Emma," Sarah shouted, bursting onto the stage as the energy slowly settled. "That was amazing. You completely owned it." Emma couldn't help but smile back, the joy of the crowd still lifting her spirit. Yet, something inside her felt off-kilter. How could she celebrate when the most important piece of her past stood just a few feet away? At that moment, she knew she had decisions to make. "Thanks, Sarah," she said, but her voice was barely a whisper against the applause. She could still feel Lucas's eyes on her, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. When the noise softened and people started to filter away, Emma spotted Lucas making his way toward her, a hopeful look on his face. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice tentative. "Yeah," she replied, her heart racing again, this time for a wholly different reason. The stage lights dimmed, and the atmosphere shifted from exhilaration to something more intimate. Just as they stepped off the stage, she felt a surge of nervous energy. "So, where do we even begin?" Before Lucas could reply, Emma's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She pulled it out nervously, her heart sinking as she read the message. It was from her mother, a wave of distress rolling off the screen. "We need to talk. It's about Dad." She looked up at Lucas, her heart racing. This was not how she wanted the night to unfold. With everything already heavy on her heart, this felt like too much all at once. As fear and confusion gripped her, She realized this moment could either shatter everything or become the thread that tied their histories together again. "Emma, you okay?" Lucas asked, concern etched in his brow. The tension around them felt palpable. Did she share this burden with him? Would opening up push them further apart, or bring them closer together? Just as she struggled to find her voice, she glanced at Lucas's expression, a mixture of worry and an unwavering support. Maybe now wasn't he just about her performance. Maybe it was also about revealing layers of herself she kept hidden. "Lucas," she began, but the weight of her family crisis loomed over her like a storm, threatening to drown out everything else in the moment. Before she could finish her thought, doubt crept back in. Would he still want to be there for her when he realized the mess that lay ahead? Taking a deep breath, Emma realized this was only the beginning of what lay ahead, a journey filled with uncertainties and choices that would redefine their connection. She clenched her phone, ready to decide. What if the truth could bridge the gap they had struggled with? Would vulnerability finally lead to healing? And just like that, poised on the brink of revelation, she was left with one burning question. Would she be brave enough to share the depths of her reality with Lucas and risk it all once more? Emma felt the chill of uncertainty creep down her spine as she locked eyes with Lucas. The bright stage lights faded into the dimness surrounding them, making the world feel smaller, more intimate. She opened her mouth to speak again, but the words got tangled in her throat. How could she lay bare the turmoil of her heart when everything felt so precarious? "Is everything okay?" Lucas asked again, his brow furrowing deeper. The softness in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but it only fueled the fire of her apprehension. "Not really. I got a message from my mom. It's about Dad." The words tumbled out of her as if they had been waiting for the right moment to escape. "What's wrong?" The worried crease on Lucas's forehead deepened, and his body leaned closer, instinctively drawing her in as if he could protect her from the storm brewing inside. Emma's heart pounded, each beat echoing louder than the last. It was like being pulled in two directions. On one side was the pressure to confide in the person who had once meant everything to her. On the other, the fear of unveiling a jagged piece of her life that felt too raw to share. "It's complicated," she finally whispered. "He's not well. My parents aren't talking. And I don't know what's going to happen." Each word fell like stones upon her heart, heavy and laden with unspoken fears. "I'm here for you," Lucas said sincerely, his voice a soothing balm in the midst of her turmoil. "Whatever you need, I'll help you through it." His promise sent a surge of warmth through her chest, igniting a flicker of hope that maybe she didn't have to carry this weight alone. But would he truly understand the gravity of her reality? "I don't want to," she hesitated again. "I don't want to burden you, especially when it feels like it could fall apart at any moment." Lucas reached out, taking her trembling hand in his. The contact sent a jolt of electricity up her arm. "Emma, you're not a burden. Please, just let me in. You don't have to face this alone." Looking at him, she could see the resolve in his eyes, the kindness in the creases beside his smile. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to breathe life into those hidden parts of herself. Taking a deep breath, she finally began to recount her fears. "Before my dad got sick, everything felt normal. I thought we had time, but he has gone through so much. And my mom, she has been distant. I haven't figured out how to make it better. I can't even fix myself." As the words spilled from her lips, each second felt like an eternity. But with every confession, a bit of the weight she had carried began to lift. The relief of sharing her heartache twined around her like a gentle hug. Lucas listened intently, his thumb grazing over her knuckles. "You're so strong. Just being here, showing up, that's half the battle. Allow people to help you." He was right, but vulnerability was never Emma's strong suit. The thought of fully opening up, of laying bare every cracked piece of her family's reality terrified her. Yet, she felt something shift within her. This connection with Lucas, it promised understanding and the possibility of healing. As their conversation flowed, the unease that had gripped her heart began to ebb, replaced by a flickering sense of camaraderie. Perhaps Lucas was willing to brave this storm with her. Perhaps this moment was a doorway to something unexpected. But just as she began to feel the threads of a new beginning weaving between them, her phone buzzed again. Another message. The dread returned, overshadowing the warmth they had created. Her fingers trembled as she glanced at the screen. It was from her mother again. "I need you to come home. We need to discuss your dad." Panic surged back, squeezing her chest tighter than before. "I need to go," she finally said, her voice shaking. "Should we go together?" Lucas asked, the readiness in his tone bringing comfort. He didn't flinch at her urgency. Torn between the old pain and the new possibility, Emma knew that whatever happened next could change everything. With her heart racing, she felt the intensity of the moment settle around them. But could she really let him into this part of her life, into the heart of the chaos? And what kind of journey awaited them if she dared to take that leap? As she prepared to choose, her thoughts swirled into a singular realization. Sometimes, facing the storm could lead to the brightest skies. But was she ready? As Emma's heart rate quickened, she felt a tugging in her chest, a blend of fear and hope. She glanced into Lucas's eyes, searching for any sign of judgment or retreat. Instead, what she found mirrored her own turmoil and a quiet determination, as if he was ready to stand alongside her, no matter the storm. "Yeah." Together, she finally breathed out, realizing she didn't want to face this alone. It was time to stop pretending everything was okay. With a nod, Lucas stood up, his hands still clutching hers as they wove through the dimly lit backstage area towards the exit. The world outside felt jarring, the noise of the bustling city contrasting sharply with the intimacy of their shared moment. Each step toward her reality felt heavy, but there was a solid warmth in his presence that urged her on. "Has she mentioned what she wants to talk about?" Lucas asked as they walked, his tone carefully neutral but still laced with concern. "Just I can't shake this feeling that it's bad. Maybe they're considering a separation or something worse. It's hard to think of my life changing this much." Emma leaned into Lucas slightly, feeling anchored in his calm. "Does it help to talk about it? I mean, how are you feeling?" Lucas asked, his voice gentle, offering a space for her emotions to unfold. "Honestly." She paused, searching for the right words. "Scared. I'm scared that this will push them further apart, and that I'll be left picking up the pieces. It's like I don't know how to hold my family together, and I'm terrified of losing them both." Lucas squeezed her hand. "You're not responsible for their choices, Emma. All you can do is be there for them, and for yourself." His understanding struck a chord within her. She had bottled up so much for too long, trying to keep things normal, trying to be the glue. But deep down, she realized it was okay not to have all the answers. Maybe it was okay to lean on someone else, just for a change. As they reached her car, Emma hesitated, her hand hovering over the door handle. What if it gets worse? What if I'm not the daughter they need right now? Lucas S. Brown knitted. "You are exactly who they need, Emma. You showing up, being present, that's enough. You have so much strength in you." His words wrapped around her like a lifeline. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door and slid into the seat. Lucas joined her, and for a brief moment, she closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of her breath. "Let us take this one step at a time. Just go in and see what is happening. I'll be right here, okay?" He reassured her, and she nodded, gathering her thoughts. But as she prepared to pull out of the parking lot, her phone buzzed again, a chilling urgency in the vibrations. The screen lit up, and she feared what lay behind the notification. "Mom," she whispered, heart sinking again. "Emma, please respond. It's urgent," it read. "That makes me even more uneasy. What could be happening now?" Emma muttered, the weight of dread creeping back in. "Maybe it's not as bad as you think," Lucas said, placing his hand on her knee, grounding her. Emma took a moment, wrestling with the choice before her, to dive into the unknown and confront whatever chaos awaited her, or to retreat into the fog of uncertainty. "Okay," she finally said, determination rising within her. "Let us do this." With Lucas by her side, she took the plunge into the unknown, hoping to not only confront her family's challenges, but to uncover the hidden truths waiting to be revealed within her own heart. When she turned the car toward home, a sense of both fear and excitement coursed through her. She didn't know what awaited on the other side of that door, but one thing was certain. Whatever storm was brewing might just lead to the light she desperately needed. As she navigated the winding roads, a question hung in the air, crisp and weighty. Would they all find a way to weather this storm together? Emma hoped fiercely that the answer would come soon. The drive home felt like a dream caught in slow motion, with every mile stretching out before her. Emma's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles whitening with the tension. The streets seemed alive, but she felt detached, as though she was watching the world from behind a glass. Each turn taunted her with uncertainty, and her thoughts swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. "Are you okay?" Lucas's voice brought her back, grounding her with his steady presence. She glanced sideways, finding his gaze unwavering, his expression filled with concern. "Yeah, just thinking." She mustered a smile, but it felt fragile, more like a vase on the brink of toppling over. As they neared her family's home, the familiar silhouette of the house came into view, a mix of nostalgia and apprehension flooding her chest. Memories flooded her mind, her father's warm laughter, her mother's knowing glances, the safe haven it once represented. Now, it felt like a battleground looming ahead. "Do you want me to wait in the car?" Lucas asked, his tone gentle as if he could sense the chaos threatening to break free inside of her. "No," she replied quickly, almost too fast. "I need you there. I might crumble without you." A small, understanding nod was his only response as they pulled into the driveway. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady the chaos in her heart. The light spilling from the windows was soft, but behind it lay an uncertainty she couldn't ignore. When she stepped out of the car, the cool air wrapped around her, a stark contrast to the warmth of Lucas beside her. As if sensing the shift, he reached for her hand again. Together, they walked toward the door, Emma's pulse echoing loudly in her ears. She could hear muffled voices from inside. Her heart pounded louder with every step. It was as if she were about to walk on a tightrope stretched over an abyss. What if she fell? Lucas squeezed her hand tightly before she knocked, a silent pledge of support. With a deep breath, she lifted her hand and rapped on the door, the sound resonating louder than she expected. The moments after felt suspended in time, every second drawn out like a piece of taffy. Finally, the door opened, revealing her mother's worried face. Emma's heart surged with love and anxiety all at once. "Emma." Her mother stepped back, worry morphing into relief as she pulled Emma into a tight embrace. "I'm so glad you're here." "Mom, what is going on?" Emma's voice wavered slightly as she stepped inside, glancing around as if it would provide the answers she desperately sought. Inside, her father sat on the couch, his expression deeply furrowed. It was a sight that both soothed and unsettled her. Lucas followed closely, standing beside her, a solid pillar of support. "We need to talk," her mother said, leading them to the living room, her tone serious. Swallowing hard, Emma felt the weight of the unknown press down on her. She looked at Lucas. He offered her an encouraging nod, urging her to take the plunge. As they settled onto the couch, Emma's heart raced. "What is it?" she asked again, the tremor barely concealed. Her father cleared his throat, the air thick with tension. "We've been thinking about our situation, and well, things are changing. We just want you both to know that no matter what, we love you." The words hung there, heavy with implications. Emma felt her breath hitch, her heart nervously flipping at what might come next. Could this really be the end of what she knew? As they shared uncertain glances, she realized it wasn't merely about her parents. It was about all of them, and everything she thought she understood. Could there be hope for them all, even in the face of change? "Mom," she began, but the words felt trapped in her throat. In that moment, she understood that sometimes facing the truth meant unraveling the past, and perhaps discovering who they all could become in the future together. The room was silent, tension coiling thicker around them. Emma's chest tightened, and before she could second-guess herself, she took a breath and leaned deeper into the moment. What revelations awaited her here? Would they embrace the truth, or would it tear them apart? The answer loomed ahead, and she could almost hear it whispering in the stillness. The silence in the room felt heavy, the air thick with unspoken fears and hopes. Emma's heart was drumming in her chest, and she could see the tension etched on her mother's face, as if she were bracing for a storm. "Dad, what kind of change are you talking about?" Emma finally managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Her father shifted in his seat. "Changes in our lives, sweetie. Nothing has been quite right for a while now. Your mom and we've been thinking about separating." The word hung in the air like a dark cloud. Emma's breath caught. Separating? The concept felt foreign, a quiet horror that twisted in her stomach. She glanced at Lucas, whose eyes had widened in shock. In that moment, she felt like the ground was giving way beneath her. Her mother, sensing the panic rising, reached out. Emma, it's not what you think. It's complicated, and I want you to understand that we both love you, no matter what happens. We just can't pretend anymore. The words felt like daggers, cutting deep. You can't just say that. We're supposed to be a family. I don't understand. Neither do we, sweetheart. Her father responded, his voice trembling, frustration simmering beneath a layer of sorrow. This is hard for all of us. We're trying to figure out what's best for everyone. What's best for everyone? Emma shot back, her heart racing. It doesn't feel like you're thinking about me at all. It feels like you're thinking only about yourselves. Lucas stepped in, trying to ease the tension. Emma, let us take a breath. Can we just listen for a minute? Feeling the heat of her anger, Emma turned to him with wide eyes. She was tired of trying to be calm. Listen, they're talking about breaking our family apart. When do we get to react? She felt like a whirlwind, emotions spilling out with no way to stop them. The memories of family dinners, laughter echoing through the halls, and quiet evenings together flashed before her. Those moments were now overshadowed by uncertainty. We're still a family, Em, her mother said, her voice barely steady. We will always be a family, no matter how our lives change. Can you even be sure of that? Emma shot back, tears brimming in her eyes. How do I know that this isn't just the start of everything falling apart? I know it's scary, her father said softly, but we want to do this in a way that is honest, and we want to keep the lines of communication open. Emma felt her father's words settle in the air, mixing with her despair. She couldn't see just how they would navigate this. But what if it doesn't work? What if this makes everything worse? Sometimes, change means moving towards something better, Lucas suggested gently, squeezing her hand. Better? Emma echoed incredulously. What could possibly be better than what we had? I don't even recognize my own family right now. The weight of her words echoed in the room. I need time, Emma whispered, her voice small yet filled with unyielding resolve. We all do, Lucas added, standing firm beside her. Her parents exchanged concerned glances, and slowly, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a deep, underlying fear for the future. Just promise me we'll talk, no more hiding, no more pretending, Emma implored, her tears spilling as she spoke. We promise, her mother said, reaching out to touch Emma's shoulder gently. As they all sat there, the silence marked a turning point. Emma felt a flicker of hope, a sense that perhaps they could rebuild what had been broken, but it also terrified her. Could they truly emerge from this uncharted territory as a family? The question lingered heavy in the air, waiting for an answer that seemed just out of reach. And deep within her heart, another thought sparked: what new beginnings would they find if they dared to confront the uncomfortable truth together? Emma sat in the living room, surrounded by the echoes of her parents' words and the weight of their uncertainty. The air was heavy with emotional residue, and for a moment, it seemed like silence was the only thing left between them. But deep down inside, she knew this wasn't the end. It was a new beginning, and she had the power to direct it. Can we take a moment to breathe? She suggested, her voice steady but gentle. We've all been holding on to this weight, and maybe we need to just sit with it for a while. Her parents nodded, their expressions softening. They needed space, a moment to let the reality of their situation sink in, to absorb the confusion and the chaos that had turned their lives upside down. Lucas squeezed her hand tighter. The warmth of his touch was a steady reminder that she wasn't alone in this, that she didn't have to face her family's growing pains by herself. It was comforting and reassuring. As moments passed, the tension began to ease. You know, Emma started, her voice cutting through the silence. This doesn't have to be the end of what we have. It just means we need to redefine it. The thought began to take shape in her mind. We can still be a family, but first, we have to be honest with each other. Her father glanced at her, the furrow in his brow easing. You're right, Emma. It just feels so daunting. The thought of not understanding how our family will look from here on out, it scares me. It scares me too, Emma replied, looking at both her parents. But I can't let fear dictate our future. We're all in different places right now, but if we're honest with one another, maybe we can find hope in the mess. What do you mean by hope? Her mother asked softly, her eyes searching Emma's. Maybe it means learning to communicate better. It means finding new ways to support one another as we navigate the change. She straightened her back, feeling a flicker of determination. This is a chance for us to grow, to be more honest about our feelings together. Lucas nodded, his stance unwavering beside her, giving her the courage to continue. You might find that what family means can change, but the love you have for each other can remain. That doesn't go away. Tears brimmed in her mother's eyes as she took a shaky breath. I want to try, I really do. I just didn't know how to begin. Emma leaned forward, her heart bursting with conviction. Let us start here. How about we schedule family dinners? Let us talk about our weeks and share what we're struggling with or what we dream of. It's a small step, but we can build from there. Her father nodded slowly. You're right, Emma. I'm willing to give that a shot. It could be like a check-in point, Lucas added, his voice warm with support. A place where you can all share what is happening. It may help you clarify what you want moving forward. The room filled with a new energy, one that felt lighter and more promising. Emma felt the heaviness on her heart slowly lifting, replaced by the glimmer of possibility. Her mother wiped away tears, but this time, they sparkled with a different kind of sentiment. You know, it's never too late to find the light again. Exactly, Emma affirmed, her spirit buoyed by the words. We can embrace this even if it feels overwhelming. With each passing second, Emma felt something changing within her family. It was like a door creaking open, allowing long-buried dreams and desires to seep in. The soft creaking sounds of rebuilding started to emerge. So, are we on the same page, then? She asked tentatively, searching their faces for signs of agreement. Her parents exchanged glances, and slowly, they nodded. Yes, her mother said, a tremor of hope in her voice. Let us do this together. Tension permeated the air but began to dissolve bit by bit as they grasped onto this concept of redefined family. With renewed determination, they began to speak openly about their fears and hopes, their voices growing stronger amid the flicker of light that came with honesty. And just like that, Emma's heart surged with the warmth of possibility. They were rekindling their fractured connection, breathing life into the family that still resided deep within them all. As the evening progressed, laughter interwove with apprehension, pregnant pauses transformed into meaningful conversations, and with each carefully chosen word, the promise of a new family dynamic took root. Emma could feel it in her bones. Love was still there, still fierce, still united. It would take work. It wouldn't be easy, but it was possible. As she glanced at Lucas, his encouraging smile grounded her. They could navigate the uncertainty together. Leaving the past behind now felt liberating. It was still a long road ahead, but the future was brighter, painted in hues of hope. It would be worth the fight. As she looked around, she thought of what this moment meant, a springboard into a future that could be as beautiful as the memories they shared, complicated yet promising. In that moment, Emma knew one thing without doubt: the power to change their story lay in their hands, and together, they could write a new chapter. Emma felt ready to embrace the uncertain, ready for whatever the next page might hold. And so, her journey to transformation continued, wrapped in love, trust, and the warmth of newfound possibilities. If you enjoyed this story and want more transformations like this, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.